Welcome to the locker room, everyone. Today is our NFL mock draft show. I'm joined today by Malik Jackson, Jacob Sennholz, and Michael Wengrzyn. Guys, I know the answer to this question, but are you ready for the draft?
For sure.
Michael or Jake, whoever wants to go.
I've been looking forward to the draft for so long now. We've been talking about it, and finally we're 2 days away. I cannot be more excited.
I'm excited
Michael?
too. Hey, and guess what? Football season is only 5 months away, so we're almost there.
Start the countdown, baby.
Start the
Yeah,
countdown.
a month after the draft, you have the rookie OTAs, then you have mini camp in June, then you got a month off before training camp and preseason, and then regular season's going to be here before we know it.
I'm
can't
excited.
wait.
Excited for it as well.
For today's show, we'll break up the draft into 4 groups of 8, and after we make all our selections, we'll play around or buy or sell. Getting things started tonight will be Michael, and the Cleveland Browns are on the clock. Michael, who are the Browns taking with the first overall pick?
Well, this is
Don't screw this up.
well, this is a very difficult decision. Obviously, you guys all have your thoughts about it, and I have my own decision about it. But I think Roger Goodell is going to go up there amidst the boos and announce that the Cleveland Browns, with the number 1 overall pick, are going to take USC quarterback Sam Darnold. And the reason why is because while Josh Allen is considered the best quarterback of the draft, Darnold does have some mechanical issues, but he also has the cleanest slate. And I think Browns GM John Dorsey really likes Darnold, especially considering he's worked with the Packers themselves. He's a little Brett Favre in him. So Darnold, I think, is going to go number 1.
Awesome. Pick 2, that's Giants.
Giants,
Jake?
yeah, I have them. There's rumors that they were going to trade out. I have them actually staying at number 2 and drafting either Saquon Barkley or Josh Rosen. I think if they grab a quarterback, I could see, Rosen's a California kid. I think he would fit in good in New York, whether it be the Giants or the Jets. But yeah, I have them picking Barkley or Rosen.
Awesome. 3rd pick, Jets are on the clock. I have that pick. 3rd straight pick, depending on what the Giants do that a quarterback's going to be taken. The Jets are going to take Baker Mayfield out of Oklahoma. No surprise, the Jets need help and they need a franchise quarterback. They're going to have their pick of quarterbacks no matter how it goes. So I have them taking Baker Mayfield.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's either going to come down to Rosen or Mayfield for the Jets. Either one of them is going to be a Jet come the fall. It'll be interesting to see.
Okay.
Malik, you're up next.
All right, and with the Cleveland Browns' 4th pick, which they got traded with the Houston Texans, I believe since they've already taken a quarterback for the first pick of the draft, I believe they'll take Sam Darnold as well. I think they'll go for a defensive end and grab Nick Chubb. I mean, why not go on that?
Chubb.
Huh?
Bradley Chubb.
Bradley Chubb. Sorry about that. Well, I think they'll go and I think they'll go and grab him and just add more depth to the defensive side of things. I mean, they're already rebuilding with the offensive side. I mean, they already went to go grab Jarvis Landry in free agency, so they're going to stack up that part of it with Sam Darnold as well and just build out from there. So I think that'll be a great pick for them.
Do you think there's any validity to the rumors of possibly grabbing a second quarterback at number 4? I know
That would make no sense.
I don't think that would make.
It's been discussed, especially if New York decides to go with Barkley. Their second guy, their second choice could be there. It would be unconventional for sure, but if the Browns are looking for a chance to get a franchise quarterback, draft 2 of them in the top 5, you double your chances.
That's
It'd be a pretty
true. And
interesting
maybe
training camp,
that.
too.
It would, and then if say they both work out, you could trade one. If one doesn't work out and the other one does, you still got your guy. So I was just wondering what you guys' thoughts on that possibility might be.
That's
Small
a
chance,
small
but
chance,
it's
but
possible.
It's possible, yeah.
The Browns are going to do Browns things. I mean,
Hopefully they get a win.
I can't say I'd be surprised, but at the same time, it's the Browns. I mean, they drafted Johnny Manziel.
Correct.
Where they did a couple years ago, and they also took Trent Richardson all those years back, and Brady Quinn.
Don't forget about Tim Couch, the very first one where it started it all.
Yeah. So 5th pick's on the clock.
That would be Denver.
Yeah.
Okay. Denver, I believe strongly somebody will trade up to this number 1-5, whether it's the Bills or the Arizona Cardinals. However, if Denver stays, I think that they are either going to end up with Saquon Barkley or Josh Allen, which I believe is their number 1 rated quarterback anyway. And I think Allen has the potential to fall to 5 out of all these guys we've discussed. So, either get some help, dynamic offense in Barkley, or get yourself another young quarterback in Josh Allen.
I like the pick of Barkley.
I like it.
They just cut C.J. Anderson last week,
Yep,
so they obviously need some running back help. And
Yep.
I don't know what they're going to do at quarterback. it's amazing how far Denver's fallen off the map in terms of being in the Super Bowl. What was it? 3 years ago,
Yep.
winning
Sure.
it all, and then
Just
after
lost.
that, it's been downhill since.
Yeah.
Lost Aqib Talib as well to the Rams, so.
Yeah, so
Gotta pick up
who
on
knows?
that
Maybe
defensive
Denver will
line as
trade
well.
back into the back end of the first round, try
Yeah.
to get a defensive back. It'll be interesting to see.
And Josh Allen is a bit of a project, so the fact that they have Case Keenum there now gives them a year or two cushion to develop him, so it'll definitely be interesting.
That's a great pick.
Yep.
So then next up, the 7th overall pick.
Number 6.
Or excuse me, 6th
Yeah,
overall.
6th
pick.
overall. Yep. So 6th overall, the pick belongs to the Indianapolis Colts, which they traded with the New York Jets. So the Jets got the number 3 pick, and the Colts got the number 6 pick. With the defensive side of the ball that the Colts have had the past couple of years, it's not looked pretty at all. Definitely need a lot of help that they can get on the defensive side of things, but they also need some help on the offensive line to keep Andrew Luck with as much protection as he can, because he is he's pretty banged up. Obviously, he hasn't played a game in a little over a year. So I think at number 6, the Colts are going to take Quentin Nelson, the guard out of Notre Dame. Definitely can provide some depth to that offensive line, and hopefully down in the draft they can try and get some big defensive help as well. But Quentin Nelson at number 6.
Interesting. We'll talk about Quentin Nelson more in a couple picks, but yeah, I mean, especially when you have a young QB, a young team, you want to keep that QB healthy, and that all starts up front with the offensive line. So
Yep.
not a very strong offensive line draft class this year, but we'll see where things shake out. There's always hidden gems throughout the draft, so we'll
Another
see what happens.
Joe Thomas possibly in there.
Exactly.
Who knows?
Yep, very true.
So now it's a 7th overall pick.
Which goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think Tampa Bay needs to focus more on their defense. They do have Jameis Winston, of course, being very productive in the NFC South, but they're just not very consistent on the defensive end. I think they have injuries with Gerald McCoy. Of course, he's a Pro Bowler, but I think they should add a little bit more depth. So maybe adding like a Sony Mitchell, to the defensive end, put him on the other side with
Interesting.
McCoy. Maybe that could jump something up and get maybe a Clowney and a Watt dueling up in there in Tampa Bay. So
I definitely have Tampa Bay going defense as well. They already have a dynamic offense that has underachieved in the past few years, but they are loaded on talent on offense. So
Yeah.
I agree they need a defensive pick.
Yeah.
8th overall pick, the Chicago Bears are on the clock. I had them taking Quentin Nelson. Michael had
The Colts.
the Colts taking Quentin Nelson a couple picks ago. I think the Colts are going to go defense in the draft, but with Michael having the Colts taking Quentin Nelson, they could also look at Billy Price, the center/guard from Ohio State. They could go for Willie Hernandez from UTEP. That'll be a little bit of a reach, but the Bears are definitely going to go offensive line with their 8th overall pick. I'll just go with Billy Price since Michael had the Colts taking Quentin Nelson 2 picks ago. It'll be interesting. They lost Josh Sitton to free agency. They have a young QB in Trubisky, and you want to keep that QB healthy. I think
Yep.
Very
Trubisky's
true.
going to be a good QB as long as he can stay healthy, and they added offensive weapons for him. They still have Jordan Howard at running back and Tariq Cohen as well, who played well in the games he was able to get into last season. So I start building up front with the Bears. They have the new head coach Matt Nagy, and I think Chicago could be a good team this year if they draft well and everybody stays healthy.
Yeah, just hopefully they don't play that well against Green Bay, though.
Yeah, they'll lose both.
Yeah.
games against the Packers.
The whole NFC North has potential to be very scary after this draft.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't wait for football. But first, the draft. After this quick commercial break, we'll be back with the 49ers on the clock. Welcome back to the show. The 49ers are on the clock. Jake, who's San Fran going to go with?
Roquan Smith was already taken.
I don't
don't believe
so.
so.
We didn't say-
Nope.
Okay. Already so many names flying around here. Then San Fran, their number one guy for me is Roquan Smith. Had a heck of a college career at San Francisco. Really could choose a whole lot of areas. They're a rebuilding team in so many aspects, but I think they've got their guy in Roquan Smith.
I like it. It's a good pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, they drafted Solomon Thomas from Stanford last year, and I think they obviously have Jimmy Garoppolo. They're all set at quarterback. It'll be interesting to see what the 49ers do. I think if Saquon Barkley falls to 9, don't be surprised if the 49ers take him, go with the best player available.
They
Him
lost
and-
Carlos Hyde to the
Exactly.
Browns themselves, so
Him and
who knows?
Garoppolo would be a great 1-2 punch for the offense. 10th overall pick, the Raiders. Malik, who are the Raiders going to take?
I think the Raiders could go either way, either on offense or on defense. They just got rid of Michael Crabtree, so that's a big hit. I think you have to get a little bit of production on the offensive end, especially for, that great quarterback over there, Derek Carr. He's very, very,
And
very
expensive quarterback.
Yeah, very much so. So, I was a little bit looking on the defensive end. I was thinking about Tremaine Edmonds. He's a linebacker. He can maybe put a little bit more of a hit on the defense, help them out on that area, which, defense leads to championships. So you have to start on that, and I think that'll be very beneficial for them going into the future.
Yeah, Oakland's definitely a team that's rebuilding. At the same time, they could easily be a playoff team this year.
Yeah.
And John Gruden's first year as a head coach, obviously getting Jordy Nelson. They still have Derek Carr. If he can stay healthy, it'll be definitely a team to watch. Their defense needs to get better, though. 11th overall pick, the Dolphins. Michael, who's going to Miami?
Well, with the Dolphins, obviously, quarterback is an issue because, they still have Ryan Tannehill, who's going to be coming back from injury. But at the same time, they also signed Brock Osweiler, which I wouldn't really be comfortable with. So I originally had the Dolphins taking a quarterback, Baker Mayfield, but he was taken at number 3 by the Jets, which you picked, Ben. So I think they're going to also focus on the defensive side of the ball and go with Vita Vea, the defensive tackle from Washington. With the departure of Ndamukong Suh, the defensive line has weakened very significantly, and I think Vita Vea put on an impressive showing at the NFL Combine. And
Big boy, right?
a very big boy, and I think he'll put that defensive line in much better position, I think, for next season.
I think he is a great fit. I do want to ask you, though, if you think they were going to take Baker Mayfield, if he fell that far, do you think there's any chance they take a flyer quarterback like Mason Rudolph or even Lamar Jackson?
Lamar Jackson would have been a possibility, but at the same time, they need some help on the defensive side of things. But I think Baker was also a quarterback they were looking at for potentially taking over for Tannehill if something does happen to him again.
Yeah, Miami's definitely going to be one of those interesting rebuilding teams to watch this year. They need help everywhere.
Yeah.
But not a bad pick starting out with a defensive lineman, nose tackle that has a huge chance of upside. 12th overall pick, that's Buffalo Bills. And with the 12th overall pick, the Bills are going to go offensive line. They traded Corey Glenn to the Bengals. Eric Wood and Richie Incognito retired. So they're going to go offensive lineman. I don't know what the Bills are going to do at quarterback this year. So many questions. Especially from a team that was a playoff team a year ago. I had Billy Price going earlier to the Bears. I think the Bills are going to take Willie Hernandez, another guard I mentioned before from Texas El Paso. They're going to start rebuilding that offensive line for whoever they decide to stick under center this year. Bills have a lot of questions, no doubt about it.
They're definitely a dark horse team, I think, in the AFC.
They could either be a wild card team. I don't see them getting past the Patriots, or they could be bottom of the pack team in the NFL and have another top 15 pick for next season's draft. It'll definitely be interesting. 13th overall pick, the Washington Redskins. Jake, who's going to the nation's capital?
Yeah, the Washington Redskins, I believe, will be the first team to take a cornerback off the board in this
Yeah, no
draft.
cornerbacks have been taken yet in our draft.
And it is a very, very deep cornerback draft. And I just think, Washington, their defense, they gave up so many yards last year. And even with Josh Norman, yes, thank you. I was blanking on his name. Josh Norman back there, it really hasn't made too much of a difference. And he moves around a little bit, but if you could draft another guy to keep him on one side of the field, I really think that they'd be in business. So the big three I'm looking at are most likely Denzel Ward or Minka Fitzpatrick, probably because they're going to be available. As I mentioned, this will be the first team to draft a cornerback. But if they like Josh Jackson, that's a possibility as well.
Yeah.
So my number one guess would probably be Denzel Ward out of Ohio State.
Definitely be interesting. Washington, a couple years ago, they had that great defense, and then they added Norman. the one thing that hurt the Redskins last season was they couldn't stay healthy.
Injuries.
There was one game where I think all 5 or 6 of their offensive linemen got hurt in one game, so I wouldn't be surprised if they take an offensive lineman there too.
Yeah.
Not really a clear trend as to where the Redskins are going. 14th overall pick, the only pick that the people care about in the
Yep.
draft in Wisconsin, the Packers. With the 14th overall pick, the Packers are going to take Harold Landry, the defensive end out of Boston College. There's
Really?
yeah.
That's a
Write it
surprise.
down. Write it down. You got it.
I'm marking this one.
Harold Landry, defensive end from Boston College. There's been a lot of rumors. The mock drafts were saying Marcus Davenport, then they changed to Josh Jackson or a cornerback. The one concern I do have with this is that the Packers released the other day. They don't usually do this, but with Gutekunst in charge, they decided to change things up. They put out a list of players that they brought in for visits, and
Yep.
neither Davenport or Marcus Davenport or Harold Landry were on the list. The one player that I had seen them possibly taken in the first round that they brought in for a visit was Mike Hughes, the cornerback out of Central Florida. So I'm still going to go with Harold Landry, the defensive end out of Boston College. The Packers do need some edge help. Clay Matthews is going to be 32 next month, and Nick Perry, they signed him to that contract, and he still can't stay as healthy as the Packers or himself or the fans would want. So the Packers are going to go defensive end.
Oh, question. Do you think that Jimmy Graham will provide that extra leap on you all's offensive side to give you the leap over?
Yeah,
the
I think
NFC
so. He's
North?
definitely going to help in the end zone, and he's going to be able to stretch the middle of the field. 15th overall pick, go out to the desert. The Cardinals,
Yep.
Michael, who's going to Arizona.
Well, obviously, an issue before during the offseason at the beginning was that the Cardinals needed a quarterback with Carson Palmer retiring. They did sign Sam Bradford, but Bradford's not a good
Yay.
long-term answer. So I'm thinking also as well, you got Larry Fitzgerald, who has a few more years, actually not even a few, probably a couple more years in the desert before he decides to go off into the sunset and retire and become a
Take a bus trip to Canton.
yeah, exactly. That's the best way to put it there. But I think Arizona's got to focus on the future, and I think Lamar Jackson, the quarterback from Louisville, is probably their best option. You know, there could be a chance too that he could convert to wide receiver, although he doesn't really plan on it. He could either be a quarterback or a wide receiver, probably a better wide receiver, but I think the Cardinals will at least try to take him in and have him as their next option for quarterback.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. Arizona definitely needs a quarterback. They lost out on the Kirk Cousins sweepstakes. They lost out on every other free agent quarterback, their sweepstakes as well. Be interesting to see what they do. 16th overall pick, Malik, who are the Ravens going to take?
I'm actually going to go on the offensive side, wide receiver. I'm going to go Calvin Ridley. I really think he'll be a helpful weapon. They also just signed Robert Griffin III, so
And they
he
got
might get
Willie
him
Snead from the Saints just
Oh,
yesterday
yeah,
too.
yeah,
So
okay.
that'll definitely be interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's a great pick. I am a big fan of Calvin Ridley. I've been advocating for the Packers to possibly consider him, even though I know it's not going to happen. But, I mean, that kid tore up college with below-average quarterbacks and had a great
Indeed.
career. So you put him with somebody, even a Joe Flacco type, and he's going to tear it up.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see what the Ravens decide to do. We're going to take another commercial break. When we come back, the Chargers will be on the clock.
Warzala, the 7th largest book printer in North America, is hiring students for the semester. We are 100% employee owned and located right here in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. All shifts currently hiring, with jobs starting at $10.80 an hour. Hours are flexible. For more information, contact the Warzala HR department.
Welcome back to the show. The Chargers are on the clock. Jake, who's going to LA?
You know, LA is another one of those teams that really has a lot of options here, a couple holes all throughout their team. So I think if they're going defense, Deron Payne I think would be a really great fit for them. Or if I think they personally, I think they should go with an offensive tackle, somebody that can help out Melvin Gordon, who's been a solid running back for them, but I think he just has more to offer, and shoring up that line would definitely do that. So that leads me to names like Colton Miller, who from UCLA. I know people think he's a little bit of a boom or bust. I think he has a lot of potential. Or Mike McGinley. So, yeah, I think they're going to go probably offensive tackle on either Miller or McGinley.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see. The Chargers, they definitely need some help. So, 18th overall pick, the Pacific Northwest, the Seahawks. I think they're going to go wide receiver. They need some help. They need another weapon for Russell Wilson. They need someone to go with. Doug Baldwin and Tyler Lockett and Jerron Brown, who they got in free agency. Malik had the Ravens taking Calvin Ridley. So at the 18th overall pick, the Seahawks, they're going to be taking Cortland Sutton, the wide receiver from Southern Methodist University. Definitely be interesting to see what Russell Wilson can do when he gets another weapon in his arsenal.
Cortland Sutton, yeah.
So 19th overall pick, the host city, Dallas. Michael, who's going to be the next Cowboy?
Well, obviously with the offseason, the biggest news that came out of Dallas was the release of Dez Bryant. So the Cowboys definitely need to find a successor to him. And at the same time, Jason Witten is winding down his career as tight end. So I'm pretty sure the Cowboys are going to be looking to find his successor as well. They also need help on the defensive side of the ball as well. But I think for the most part, the important thing for them is to get an offensive weapon here. And with Cortland Sutton being taken just previously now with that pick, I think the Cowboys will take Mike Gesicki, the tight end from Penn State. I really like him, and he put on another good showing at the Combine out of that Penn State group with Saquon Barkley. So I think he definitely resembles a lot of Jason Witten. I think he'll be a great successor.
He's got a little bit, sorry to interrupt you, but
no worries.
He's got a little bit more speed than Jason Witten, too, and he has the hands as well.
Exactly.
So, and with Dak Prescott
big man,
obviously
too.
being a quarterback on the younger side of the hill, definitely be fun. It'll be nice to see what the Cowboys do. It's a 50-50 coin flip, in my opinion, whether they go offense or defense, because they need help on both sides of the ball.
Right.
20th overall pick, the Motor City, Detroit. Malik, who's going to be the next Lion?
Marcus Davenport. I'm going to go with the defensive end. I feel like they need to improve on the defensive end. They got rid of, what was his name? They got rid of somebody on their defense who was very prominent. But I think that pick will definitely get them over the hill. They already have a franchise quarterback, in my opinion. I think Stafford is he's a really good quarterback, but you have to improve on the defense, like I said previously in the show.
Yeah, the Lions already have a great defensive line with Ziggy Ansah and all the rest of the linebacking crews. Nothing to tip your nose at either. Tahir Whitehead's pretty good in the middle linebacker, but
Very true.
the Lions are definitely they have a good offense or good defense. Their secondary linebacking crew is good, and I still think there's room to improve for the defensive line. Be interesting to see. Obviously, you have Kirk Cousins in the division. You have Aaron Rodgers, obviously, and Mitch Trubisky as well. The 21st overall pick, the Bengals. Jake, who's going to Cincinnati?
Yeah, Bengals are another team that I think really need help on the offensive line. They have a whole group of talented running backs that just can never seem to get going, and they have a quarterback who likes to take his time in the pocket a lot of times. So I mentioned his name with the last pick for the Chargers, but I don't think the Chargers are actually going to take him. So I think he falls to Cincy in Mike McGinley.
Yeah, it'll definitely be.
That's a good pick.
A good pick for the Bengals. Obviously, Andy Dalton, you got to keep him healthy and upright. Definitely be interesting to see.
He's not the most mobile quarterback.
Not the most mobile quarterback, but you got to keep him safe in that pocket so he's time to throw. 22nd overall pick, back to Buffalo, the Bills. The Bills will be taking Leighton Vander Esch, the linebacker out of Boise State. They need help on defense. Losing my thought for a second. They definitely need to build a defense. Their coach, general manager, coming up from Carolina, he obviously had Thomas Davis and Luke Kuechly down there, and we know how good some of them are, even if Thomas Davis likes to use steroids. That point aside, just had to throw that in there. But Leighton Vander Esch played 8-man football in high school, but he was able to he was able to turn a lot of eyes, draw some eyes to Boise, and he's going to be a Bill with the 22nd overall pick. So
Sounds good.
Next pick, New England, Michael.
All
Who's
right.
going to be the next Patriot?
Well, for the Patriots, obviously, the biggest concern is two things. One, obviously, is the successor to Tom Brady, which I feel like might not draft a quarterback in the first round. They're going to need a lot more help on the defensive side of the ball, which is their number two concern. So I think with all the Patriots also need some help on their offensive line, too. They could take a look at that. But I think with the 23rd overall pick, the Patriots will draft Rashaan Evans, the linebacker out of Alabama, can provide a lot of good pass rush and really help beef up a really struggling defense that somehow got its way to the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see. Patriots could be on the doorstep of the end of the Tom Brady Belichick era. There's always seems to be always somebody leaking some drama from Foxborough.
Yeah.
Once or twice a week. It'll be interesting to see. 24th overall pick, Malik. Who are the Panthers going to take?
I'm going to go on the offensive side. Definitely you need, Cam is going to definitely need some help. Definitely. And I'm going to go with a slot receiver. I'm going to pick Christian Kirk. I apologize. I think that he'll be a prominent target for Cam. He already has Christian McCaffrey in the backfield. Came out, had
Torrey Smith as well. They got in the trade.
yeah, they
with the
did
Eagles.
just got him. So, just get him. So, I don't know if the Eagles were. I don't think that was a good idea of giving him up, but we'll see how that goes with them up in Philadelphia. But I'm definitely going to go on the offensive side with that.
So Christian Kirk from Texas A&M, he's going to be the newest Carolina Panther. We're going to take our last commercial break of the show. We'll be back with the end of the draft, and the Titans will be on the clock. Welcome back to the show. The Titans are on the clock. Jake, who's going to be the newest resident of Nashville?
Yeah, I think the Titans are going to go with big boy who can get after the ball. My number one pick for them is outside linebacker Rashaan Evans. I think they might be interested in Harold Landry too, but I just think they need somebody to get after the ball. Their defense was only okay last year, and everybody can use a good pass rusher. So I think as well that their offense is pretty solid, and they don't need to pick an offensive player in the first round.
Awesome. So the 26th overall pick, Malik, who are your Falcons going to take?
Man, this is interesting. I'm going to go on the defensive end. I'm going to go with the defensive end, and I will pick Maurice Hurst. Hurst. Yes, Hurst. Apologize. I think he'll be big for us with the. We lost Dontari Poe in free agency along with Claiborne, so we have to bunch back up on the defensive end, especially with Vic Beasley not putting out those dominant numbers that he did. We need to improve on that. Maybe even look into getting another cornerback to help out Desmond Trufant. That might be another place that we could look at because our safety, having Keanu Neal, is definitely good. So we just have to keep working on our defense. I think we'll be good and can't blow leads like we did in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the Super Bowl, obviously Malik still remembers that.
Sorry about that.
Still saying in the NFC South, the 27th overall pick, the Saints, they're going to be taking the tight end from South Dakota State, Dallas Goedert. They obviously need help offensively. Ben Watson, their tight end, he's going to be 38 this season, old, and Kobe Fleener hasn't lived up to his hype, hasn't produced as much production as the Saints would like. They obviously lost Willie Snead to the Ravens, and Drew Brees, I still think he has a lot left in the tank. He just needs another offensive weapon, so they're going to be taking that tight end. The Jackrabbit's going to become a Saint. The 28th overall pick, Pittsburgh Steelers. Michael, who's going to the Steel City?
I think the newest member playing in the Three Rivers is going to be somebody on the defensive side. Obviously, Harrison left to go to New England, and now he's retired. Ryan Shazier is
Not going to be playing.
not going to be playing anymore for this upcoming season. So that's unfortunate. So really, they're going to need some help at the linebacker position, but also at the cornerback position. So I think the Steelers are going to take Jari Alexander, the cornerback out of Louisville. Definitely can provide some help there in the secondary, and also give a little bit of help to depending on what side of the corner he plays as well. So I think Jari Alexander will be a good fit in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, somehow Pittsburgh always finds these guys that help make their defense their defense somehow still stays pretty good, and they always seem to win games when it matters most. 29th overall pick, Jacksonville. Jake, who's going to be the next Jaguar?
Jacksonville, I think Jacksonville has been one of the best teams as far as the draft goes in the past handful of years. They've loaded up on defense, so I think they're going offense. They lost a couple wide receivers in this offseason. So I think it's going to be a battle of the DJs between DJ Moore and DJ Clark. Whichever one they have rated higher, I think is going there. But I'm pretty sure, I'm almost guaranteeing that Jacksonville will take a wide receiver.
Write it down.
I like
Jake's
it.
right. He's never wrong. The 30th overall pick, Minnesota. Michael, who's going to be the next Viking?
The rivals to the West. Minnesota, as us Packer fans unfortunately know, have a very good team on both sides of the ball, but they do have a little bit of a weakness in their offensive line. So I think at 30, Minnesota is going to take Isaiah Wynn, the guard out of Georgia, to definitely beef up the leaky parts of that offensive line. And fortunately, they're going to keep themselves now in contention with their new franchise quarterback. So he'll provide some good protection to Kirk Cousins as well.
Yeah, man. The last thing the Vikings need to do is get better on defense.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what they do. 31st overall pick, the Patriots' original pick. New England, they're going to be taking Sam Hubbard, the defensive end out of Ohio State. They need help on that defensive end. They need some edge help. Our mock draft had them taking a linebacker earlier in the draft. Dante Hightower has some injury problems. They've never really replaced Rob Ninkovich or Chandler Jones, and if the Patriots defense can get better, then it obviously take some weight off of Tom Brady's shoulders, off of Bill Belichick's and his game planning strategy week to week. Be interesting to see what they do. Last pick of the first round, the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. Michael, who's going to the city of brotherly love?
Well, the Eagles definitely don't really need to feel too scared about this upcoming season. They still have a lot of talent that can probably get them back to the Super Bowl again. I know Bernard would be very happy to see him again in that big game. But they do need some help at the linebacker position, but also at their offensive line as well. Jason Peters is 35 years old, suffered the season-ending injury last season, so he's not going to be around for too many more years. So I think they'll take Connor Williams, the guard out of Texas, to be able to give some protection to Carson Wentz and also provide some holes for that backfield to open up and tear NFL defenses.
Yeah, the best thing you can do for a young quarterback is help protect his blind side, and Carson Wentz coming back obviously from the ACL. We'll see how he looks like he's pretty well ahead in his recovery process. So I'm sure he'll be set to go come training camp. But obviously keeping him upright and healthy is probably the number one thing that's on the Eagles' mind. Now it's time for a round of buy or sell. Buy or sell. There will be at least 4 quarterbacks taken in the top 20 picks. Disregard what we've done in the mock draft. There will be 4 quarterbacks taken in the top 20 of the picks Thursday night. Buy or sell. Jake?
Yeah, that's an easy buy for me. I think there might be 4 in the top 5, to be honest with you.
Yeah, plausible. True.
Yeah, so I'm guessing probably the over-under is 5 in the first round.
I'm going by that as well. I think it's going to be 4 teams that definitely need to draft quarterbacks, so I'm going to buy that.
Michael?
Buy it as well. 3 buys.
4 buys. All right. The Packers will trade up into the top 10 picks of the first round. Michael?
Oh, this is tough. I'm really hoping Gutekunst, he's got 12 draft picks, can make some moves, but unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen before Thursday, so I'm going to sell that.
I'm also going to sell that. I don't think they're going to trade up.
Jake?
Yeah, if anything, I think they're going to stay at 14, get their guy. We see you said pass rusher, and then I could see them trading back up into the bottom of the second round and maybe
Like they did the year when they got Raji and Clay Matthews.
Right, especially
Yeah.
since there's so many cornerbacks available. I could definitely see them picking at 14 and then somewhere in the mid to low 20s.
20s, yeah. Man, I want to buy it, but I'm going to sell it. Maybe if Minkah Fitzpatrick is still on the board, I'd say 10. The Packers trade up those 4 spots.
Nobody mentioned Derwin James either.
Yeah.
He's a heck of a hitter. Everybody seemed to pass on him.
Maybe the Packers will trade back up into the first round to get him. It'll definitely be interesting to see. Next question. Buy or sell, the Browns will not take a quarterback. They have the 1st and the 4th overall pick. Buy or sell, they won't take a quarterback.
I gotta sell that. They have to take a quarterback, man. They have to.
Hugh Jackson did say Tyrod's going to be the starting quarterback this year. So,
Mm-hmm.
and God only knows what the Browns are going to do. Everybody knows that the Browns have a tendency to screw up the first round of the draft.
I just don't see them not taking a quarterback. They have to take a quarterback, and if they don't, then it's kind of stupid on their end. I
Yeah.
think.
Michael?
I'm going to sell that too. I think the factory of sadness knows that they have to take a quarterback within the first 4 picks, so definitely need to take a QB.
Man, the Browns, they always seem to do Brown things in the first round. I'm gonna buy it just for laughs. So next week's show, if somehow I'm right about this, you guys won't hear the end of it.
That will be highly entertaining. Can you imagine what the talk's gonna be if the first round is
I'll
over?
have to
and the
tune
Browns
in.
don't
Social
have
media will
quarterback?
blow
That would
up.
be crazy.
Yeah,
goodness.
well, I'll have to tune into Cleveland Sports Talk Radio Friday morning.
Hashtag
Last
Browns
question.
and Browns.
Saquon Barkley, the running back out of Penn State, will fall out of the top 10. Malik?
I'm gonna sell that. I don't think he's gonna fall out of the top 10. You have to take him. I mean, he's one of the most talented running backs I've seen in about a decade, I would have to say.
Yeah, with teams as high up as the Giants and Cleveland interested in him, even if they pass on him, I just don't see how he falls any further than even Denver. And if he does make it past Denver, I think that lights got to go off, and these teams got to
Yeah.
realize
Yeah.
this is a special guy. And
Yeah.
even if it's not, the outside linebacker we were looking at, you got a chance to pick him up. I think he's going to get picked up before the 10th pick.
Yeah.
Michael?
That's an easy sell for me. Barkley's definitely going to be in the top 10 no matter what.
Oh, man, it'll be interesting to see. This is what I love about draft time. You never know. Man, I'm just going to buy it for the heck of it. I think if he's still on the board at 10, Oakland, pairing him up with Derek Carr, that'd be a great
Oh man,
offensive
that would be
weapon.
amazing.
So that's all we have for you on our show today. Tune into the NFL Draft Thursday night, and we'll be back on next week's show with a full recap of round 1, especially analysis of the Packers draft picks. We'll see you next time on The Locker Room.